All right, what's up, nerds? We're going to talk about solving quadratics today. So before we start doing that, let's talk about like what solving quadratic even means. Okay, because I feel like you guys get confused like right around here, right? So what we just did for like I don't know all of first semester, and then for like 2 or 3 weeks now was factoring, right? And you guys can do this. If I said, here's the instructions, factor x squared minus 4x minus 5. You guys could look at the factors of 5, go, I need 1 and negative 5, and then factor this like this, and be like, yep, it's factored. Okay. Here's the exact same problem, except now it's a factoring problem. Are you ready to look at the differences? Okay, I'm glad you're ready. Are you sure? Did you put your big kid pants on today? All right. Now it says solve. So the word in front of it's different. This says solve. You have to look at this sometimes. It's in the instructions. It tells you what to do. Okay, we're going to solve. Here's the same problem. You see how there's an equals 0 here that wasn't supposed to be here, right? Like it's so similar. I accidentally put it on this one and had to cross it out to make it correct. The only difference is it has an equal 0 at the end. Okay. Oh, look, they factored just like they factored here. So it looks like the first step is factor, okay? And then they took this thing and they said it equals 0, and they took this thing and they said it equals 0, and then they got some numbers. Okay, so it looks like there's, what, 2 more lines, and this line's the answer. So 1 more line of work, right? Like not even. Easy peasy. Okay. So these are going to look pretty similar. The difference is we're going to have an equal sign in the problem, and now we're going to figure out what does x equal. Here, x could be anything. X could be 8, and then we could get a number or something, right? But over here, we're trying to figure out which x makes this thing equal 0. So we're trying to figure out what a specific x that makes it do something. Okay, the 2 extra steps that are here, these 2 extra lines in here, those 2 steps are set every factor equal to 0. We can see that right here. X plus 1 equals 0, and then x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so we set every factor equal to 0. That's not even a real step, you guys. You're fine. You just put equals 0 next to them, and you're done with that step. Okay, step 2, the second extra step, is we would solve these equations, right? So we have x plus 1 equals 0. To solve this, you just subtract 1 on both sides. So you get x equals negative 1. Look, it's so small a step, we did it in our heads. Okay, so this is what we're going to be going over today. We're going to learn how to solve a quadratic, that's anything with an x squared in it, by factoring. So we're going to factor, and then we're going to do 2 extra steps after factoring. We're going to set those factors equal to 0, and then solve those for x. Okay, let's look at an example. All right, here's example number 1, and I color-coded everything. I made it look really nice so that you guys can like complain, Mr. Barton doesn't teach clearly, you know, like he's got bad handwriting and he stutters and tells us stupid stories all the time, and I can't follow him. I hate that guy. Okay, show your parents this video and show them what an excellent teacher I actually am. So, example number 1, we're going to solve. Sorry, I didn't write solve. Let me put solve up here, right? I'll put, whoops, my pen's dry. Solve. Okay, we're going to solve that. We're going to solve x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. So I gave you guys the steps over here on the side. You guys could copy them. You could take screenshots of them. You could probably sell them online for a lot of money or something. So steps. Step 1, make the equation equal 0. So if we look, it already equals 0. Step 1 is done for us. So we're done with that, right? We can even put like a little check mark here. Check. Okay. Step 2 is factor. See how the step is in red? The step is in red. I took this thing and I factored it. So I said, what 2 numbers multiply to give me 20, and add up to give me 5. This equals 0 business here, we're just ignoring that. You're factoring the left. So two numbers that multiply to 20, add to 9 are 5 and 4. So we factored to x plus 5 times x plus 4. Then we didn't do anything with the equals 0, so you just bring the equals 0 down here. My dog might freak out in half a second. If she does, lo siento. She's trying to save my life right now. Listen, there's this guy with an Amazon paraphernalia on, a little hat, little shorts, you know. My dog thinks that this man is trying to murder her entire family. So, you know, she's going to let him know. You can't just take that lying down. Okay, so we factored, brought down the equal 0. Okay, now we just take these factors, the parentheses, and we set them equal to 0. So we just split them up, give them their own equal 0. Okay. So x plus 5 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0. Easy. That's set each equation equal to 0. Now step 4 is solve each equation. So here's the equation we're going to solve this. So to get rid of this plus 5 here, we're going to subtract 5 on both sides. So the 5 minus the 5, they cancel. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Here we do the same thing. We have plus 4, so we subtract 4 on both sides. The 4's cancel. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. And x equals negative 4. These are your answers, and you're done. Okay, not too bad. So there's the whole problem. Looks very nice and neat. Feel free to make yours look this nice. You know what's funny is some kids have notes that look like this, and they still fail. Isn't that hilarious? Actually, that's not true. No kid has notes that look like this and fail. Kids that put this much effort into notes don't fail. Okay, cool. All right, so now let's go through a whole example together, though you guys can kind of see it live and watch me stumble through it. All right, do you guys want purple or do you want red? All right, everyone raise your hand for purple. Okay, now red. It looks like the purples have it. Okay, so here's our problem. Step 1, let me grab my steps over here so I can maybe reference them. Step 1, make the equation equal to 0. Okay, there's the equation. Oh, it equals 0. We're done with that one. Check mark. Okay, step 2 is factor. All right, maybe I should do this step in red because the steps are in red. So factor this thing. So I need two numbers that multiply to 5 and add up to 6. The only numbers that multiply to 5 are 1 and 5 because it's prime. So 1 plus 5 is 6. So this is going to factor to, whoops, come on pen, x plus 1 times x plus 5. Okay, and now we didn't do anything with equals 0, so we bring it down. So equals 0. There you go. All right, so we finished step 2. We did the factoring, check mark. Okay, step 3 is set each factor equal to 0. So we're going to take these factors and set them equal to 0. So we're going to have x, that's so dark. Why is that black? Anyway, plus 1 equals 0. And x plus 5 equals 0. Dang, do you guys see how dark that one is compared to this? This stuff's purple, this stuff's black. Excuse me. I hope that didn't ruin all the ones underneath. Sorry, you guys. I got some bougie inks. Look at this. I got bougie pens. Look at that. That thing looks like a vape, right? You're like, wow! Look, there's like ink in there. You can see it like jostling around. How tight is that? All right. So now we are done with setting our factors equal 0. That's how easy that was. You just put a equals 0 equals 0. Okay. Now, step 4 is we're going to solve these equations. Okay, so we're going to solve these. So if I want to get rid of this plus 1, we have to subtract 1. So we're going to do minus 1 on both sides. So these cancel. So we have, bring down our x, bring down our equals, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Okay, over here, same thing. We want to get rid of our plus 5. So we're going to subtract 5 on both sides. So these cancel. So we bring down our x, we bring down our equals, and then 0 minus 5 is negative 5. And then these are your two answers. And then of course, if you want to check those, you can plug those back into this original equation. If you plug in negative 1 squared would be 1, right? Plus negative 1 times 6 is negative 6, so this would be minus 6, and then plus 5. So 1 plus 5 is 6, and then 6 minus 6 is 0. So it works, because it equals 0. Cool? Alright, so that's just another example for you guys. That's like one of the easier ones, kind of full speed with all the work shown. There you go. Again, if I'm going too fast, you guys can go back, like rewind the video, watch it again. Or like as I'm writing, pause it, write it down. It'll help you remember it better. I'm tapping my head right now, but you can't see it because, like, you know, the way cameras work. But, all right. Example number 2. 3. The other 2. Example 3. Got you guys. All right, let's look at the steps again. Step 1, make the equation equal 0. See how that's not a 0? We need to make it a 0. So what could we cancel out negative 48 with? Oh, I know, positive 48. So we're going to add 48 to both sides. Put it here. Okay, so we put plus 48 on both sides. On our left side, there's nothing to add the 48 to, right? This is an x squared, this is an x, and this doesn't have any x's. So this doesn't have any like terms. So these three things need to stay separate. We gotta keep them separated. So we'll put x squared plus 14x plus 48 equals, and then negative 48 plus 48 is 0. Okay, wonderful. So there we go. We made it equal 0. Now I go back to our steps. Step dos, factor, right there. Okay. So now we're going to factor this thing. So we need two numbers that multiply to 48 and add up to 14. Let's see. What are the factors of 48? Here, actually, let me use the red one. I like the red one. Okay, so 48. We want to factor this thing. Okay, so obviously there's 1 and 48. There's 2 and 24. Does 3 go into 48? Right, and all the smart kids in the back are like, yeah, of course it does, dummy. 16 times. That's not it. We're almost there though, kids. 4 and 12. See, this is the danger of doing things live, because then you're going to get caught looking like a dingus. Is it 6 and 8? Right? And then, like, the smart kid in the back has been sitting there screaming their head out, 6 and 8! 6 and 8! For like 10 minutes, right? Okay, so it has to be 6 and 8, because 6 plus 8 is 14. That's our number right there. And then 6 times 8 is 48, which is our C term. Okay, so that's factored. So the way we write this all factored out is going to be x, and then this number, so 6 plus 6, and then x, and then with that number, so plus 8, plus 8. Okay, and now both of these still equal 0. Okay. All right, so we are done with our factor step. Now we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So the factors are just the things in the parentheses here. You might have a GCF, like there might be like x cubed plus 14x squared plus 48x. You could have a GCF of an x out in front. That would count as a factor too. So that would be set equal to 0 as well. So these things in parentheses are our factors. So we're going to set these equal to 0. So this is going to be x plus 6 equals 0, and then x plus 8 equals 0. That's an ugly 8, isn't it? Make that rounder. There you go, girl. Dang. Fat bottom 8. Okay. Now, ching, finally get to check mark this one off. Set each factor equal to 0. Done. Now we just solve each equation. So we solve these. Super easy. Subtract 6 on both sides. Minus 6 minus 6. How exciting, right? Now we have x equals -6. And then same thing over here. We just subtract 8 on both sides. Okay, cancel. So we get x equals -8. That's an ugly 8. How do you write 8 with these freaky pens, you know? Because it feels weird to push it, you know? You gotta pull it. Maybe that's the trick. You gotta make an S, and then you got whoosh. Anyway, okay, so there we go. So these are our two answers. That and that. I hope that was all on camera. I wasn't even hardly paying attention. All right, now we're gonna do one big kid problem just to make sure we put hair on our butts today, and then we are ready to go. Whoops, sorry, my camera's getting all out of whack. There we go. Okay, now that you're all motion sick, we're done with example 3. Okay, example 4, last example. And you go, why is this one any different? Well, it's just a little harder to factor. So it's kind of like a factor review with it. So let's look at our steps again. Step 1, make the equation equal 0. There's no 0 here. So we want to move everything to one side. You want your x squared to have a positive coefficient. That just makes the factoring easier. So we're going to leave this here, and we're going to move these things over to. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 15 and subtract 7x. Those are going to get subtracted on both sides. I'm going to put the 7x first, just so that it's in standard form. Okay, cool. Isn't it crazy? I have two different handwritings. This is lazy handwriting. This is nice handwriting. Okay, this stuff all cancels. On this side, we're going to write this in standard form. So we're going to put our x squareds, then our x's, then our numbers. So we're going to have still 2x squared, bring down our minus 7x, and then minus 15. Okay, and then now, because we cancel out this whole side, this equals 0. Okay, now we need to factor this, right? That's step number 2, right here. Step 2, factor. So we're going to try and factor this thing. Because we have this 2 in front right here, this is going to be complex factoring, because we can't factor the 2 out, right? 2 doesn't go into 7 or 15. So we can't just take it out of the GCF. We have to do complex factoring. So we're going to multiply the 2 to the end. So we're going to have x squared minus 7x minus 30. And now we're going to factor this using simple factoring. So we need two numbers that multiply to 30 and add up to negative 7. So this is going to factor to x minus 10 and x plus 3. Okay, so we factor that. Now we have to divide this by 2 because this is complex factoring. So multiply, do simple factoring. Remember, divide by the original a term. So we're going to divide by 2. So divided by 2 divided by 2. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. So this is going to reduce to x minus 5. 2 does not go into 3, so we move the 2 in front of the x right there. So this is going to be 2x plus 3. Which 3 do you guys like better? These 3s with the flat top or the curvy 3s? You should let me know. Okay, so now we have this totally factored. We can't forget this minus 0 up there. We have to bring that down. So bring down equal, I said minus 0. I meant equals 0. You know what I mean. Listen to what I mean, not what I'm saying. Okay, there we go. So we're done with the super hard part. That's the factor step. Now we set these equal to 0. So this is going to be x minus 5 equals 0 and this thing. So 2x plus 3. These ones are more fun to make. Equals 0. And then we solve these both for x. So here's super easy. We just add 5. So we have, sorry, I'm trying to keep this neat. Equals 5. There you go. So x equals 5. Here it's a little more complicated, right? We can't just move the 3 over. So we're going to move the 3 over, but then we have to get rid of this 2 also. So what we're going to do, let me move that up so you can see a little better, is we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Ooh, that one's nice too, though. It's nice and round. Feels cool. I don't know. You guys should go draw some 3s. Let me know what feels better. So bring down our 2x. Boom, 2x. Okay, the 3's canceled. Bring down our equal sign. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. But this one's kind of like a z, and z's are awesome. So there. Okay, now we have to get rid of this times 2. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. Those cancel. So here, x equals negative 3 over 2. Okay, so there's our 2 answers. Ooh, that's a cool effect. Probably can't do it again. Nope, sure can't. And then that's one of the answers. Okay. There you go. So that's how you solve quadratics by using factoring. It's just 2 extra steps. I'm going to have your homework posted sometime today. Today's Tuesday, so it'll be posted. Look for it. Do it. If you have preguntas, that means something in Spanish. Probably problems. Questions. Questions is questions. Preguntas is questions. I don't know what problems. Problema is probably. Sometimes I feel like some of the Spanish, like some Spanish is like racist Spanish, right? Where it's like, what do you mean you got problemos? But it's just like the word problem with an O on the end. And then other words are totally different, like pregunta. That's question. See, totally different. Anyway, if you guys have questions, let me know. Email me, ban me. Yeah, cool. See ya. Stay safe. Love you guys.